In yet another concerning incident targeting the Hindu community in the United States, the BAPS Swami Narayan Temple in Greenwood, city of Indiana, was vandalized with anti-India graffiti, with the suspicion now lying on pro-Khalistani elements in the country. The incident comes in a series of target attacks on Hindu temples by extremists in America. A video shared on X by the Hindu American Foundation showed the temple premises defaced with slogans against Prime Minister Narendra Modi and India. The Indian consulate in Chicago has called the incident reprehensible and demanded strict action against the perpetrators. This is the fourth such incident of hateful violence against Hindu temples in United States of America in just the last 12 months. Earlier, temples in California and Utah were targeted, with the ISKCON temple in Spanish Fork, Utah, being shot at, marking the peak of violence against Indian temples. The question to be asked here is, what is actually happening in terms of the investigations that need to be conducted by the local police, and these incidents of Hindu phobia need to be curtailed. There have been no arrests that have been made in any of such cases that have occurred in the last year. Let's take it case by case, what has happened in the last 1 year. Let's take a look at the first attack that took place in the year, that was in Sacramento. It was the second one was more serious, with the spate of attacks on Hindu temples in US that very particular month. Now, this incident took place on 24th of September in 2024, and slurs labeling Prime Minister Modi and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar as terrorists were sprayed onto the main signboard outside the BAPS Swami Narayan Temple in Sacramento in California. The investigation into this has been on for nearly a year. Despite investigations by the Sheriff's Office and the Gang Suppression Unit, no arrests have been made and no suspects have been identified still. Again, a second time in California, this time in the town of Chino Hills, there was another BAPS Swami Narayan Temple that was vandalized on 8th of March 2025. The local police recovered CCTV footage showing two masked men carrying out the vandalism, and yet there were no suspects that were identified. There were no arrests that have been made. In third such incidents, and it was by far the deadliest of them all, it occurred in the town of Spanish Fork in Utah, where the ISKCON Radha Krishna temple was shot on the night of 1st July. There were 20 to 30 bullets that were fired at the temple premises, and the whole incident was captured on CCTV cameras. And once again, there were no arrests made. There were no suspects that were even identified in the case. Perhaps more shockingly, the police in Utah are only treating it as an incident of vandalism. The question that arises is, what are the American authorities doing about this wave of Hindu phobia that has washed across the country? Let's open up this discussion. Joining me on the telecast is Bharat Barai. Bharat Barai, thank you. It's very unfortunate to note and disheartening that there are more and more of these attacks that are taking place at the religious sites, and this is a strong sign of Hindu phobia that is being reflected particularly in countries like United States, London, sometimes in Australia as well. And there have been a spate of incidents that have happened against Indians, particularly Hindus, in Ireland. How do you see the American administration and the US government tackling this issue?
You know, these are unfortunate incidences that have happened in a wide area of United States. Two of them were in California. This one has happened southeast of Indianapolis. These are the works of some isolated hate groups. Unfortunately, in a large country, there are always some individuals who have this hate ideology, and the two people that are particularly targeted are Hindus and Jews. And there are three potential culprits or the groups. One is Khalistanis, the second are Islamic extremists, and third are some right-wing Christian extremists. Khalistanis probably are most likely because there is a small pocket of Khalistanis in Indianapolis, and Greenwood is a suburb of Indianapolis, just 11 miles southeast of Indianapolis. Now, in USA, the police force is generally with the local municipalities. So even the suburbs have their own police force. So like in Mumbai, if there was a police force for Mumbai, then Bandra, then Khar for Andheri, Santa Cruz, like that. So Greenwood police has to investigate. Greenwood is a nice, peaceful local community, but what can happen is some Khalistanis or somebody miscreant can go in a car, 11 miles is no big distance, go and spray paint the sign. And what happened was that it is the sign which is outside the temple of BAPS, that is the one that was spray painted by this miscreant. Now, one thing that, and I'm a trustee of 3 of Hindu temples in Chicago area, so I have personal knowledge. And one of them is the temple, Hindu temple in Merrillville, Indiana, which is right on the border of Chicago. The Justice Department is giving a grant up to $150,000 to any religious organization or religious entity for enhancing the security. Primarily, this happened after many of the Jewish temples were attacked and some of the mosques were attacked. So mandirs will have to put CCTV cameras outside, and these signs are outside the temples near the road. So some way they will have to cover it with CCTV cameras.
Right, but then the point is it of any use whatsoever? Because there have been previous attacks that have taken place. I enumerated 4 of them already. There have been CCTV footage that has been found in some of those attacks. There has been investigation that has been going on for months together now. I don't know if there has been any arrests that have been made. Have the suspects been interrogated? What is the police doing? Or have they closed down this case just as a small incident of vandalism, and particularly the one where there were gunshots that were fired at one of the Hindu temples? I'm going to come back to you, sir. Joining me also on the telecast is Joyita Basu. Joyita, how confident are you of the American administration, local and at the national level, to be able to acknowledge and recognize this very palpable, real Hindu phobia that exists in American society? Whether we talk about a few years ago that, there were these seminars and narratives that were being built in some of the topmost universities of America, whether it was Harvard or Stanford, dismantling global Hindutva and so on and so forth. Do you think the government of today in America is not, I'm not going to say equipped, but does it have the intention and the willingness to look into this matter?
Well, I think it's going to be very, you cannot possibly say the government in America, because these are local issues, and obviously the local government, the local police, they should be responsible about it. Now, if they are not looking into it, that shows the lack of, I would say, heft, in spite of being in very important positions, in spite of having being the most, I would say, economically prosperous community. It shows the sheer lack of heft when it comes to the Indian American community in the US, where they cannot even ensure that cases like these are taken to their logical conclusions, which is basically capturing the people, targeting, I would say tracking them down and ensure that they are they get justice, these wronged community. You see, sitting in India we cannot do anything. Okay, so it is up to the Indian American community who are in the US to ensure that the justice system, the law and order system, I would say in this case, and that is locally. So, that action is taken against the perpetrators. But then here you are clearly seeing things like the minute something like Modi and Hindu it is written, it has been done by the Khalistanis.
Yeah.
But it also depends on what kind of message goes down to the local law and order system. We don't know that. But you see, again I am going to say it shows the lack of, I would say, political heft of the Indian American community in the US.
I'm also being joined by Dr. Sandeep Tripathi. Dr. Tripathi, again, your views in wake of, first of all, do you think there has been a spate of attacks, religious attacks on the Hindu community by instance of the latest one that has taken place over here? Visuals on our screens of those attacks, 4 within the last 1 year. And why is it not so concerning for the local authorities?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. See, you rightly pointed out that within 1 year, this is the fourth times that the same incident is taking place in US soil. And I think the question is not, the point is not here the 4 times, 3 times. The question is why this kind of feelings is growing in US soil, especially after the Trump, especially in the Trump regime, because before the Trump regime, during the Biden administration, we have seen the lots of anti-sentiments against India, and we were expecting that under the Trump regime, it will at least it will be minimizing, right? But the trend indicates that no, US has become sweet hot spot of anti-India activities, and the Indian Ministry of External Affairs had expressed a serious concern over the kind of defacing Hindu temples in American soils. So my point is that which kind of sentiment is prevailing and why this kind of sentiment is growing. Just because geopolitically, I would like to connect this incident geopolitically, because we have seen last 2 days, 3 days back, our enemy country, Pakistan's army, someone is the heading of the army as a Munir, as having lunch with the Trump. And so he was singling out anti-India rhetoric from the US soil. So this is kind of ecosystem that is growing in US soil. So we can't only blame on the local authorities. The question is not the local authorities.
I mean, I don't know how much of it can we link to the rogue nation that we share our border with, Pakistan. Like I said, these are incidents that are taking place at a very hyper local level, and there need to be solutions that need to be at the hyper local level. But I am definitely going to once again raise this point, Bharat Barai, that up until the time that Donald Trump was campaigning to win the election, he had been raising issues, he had been talking about how there is the Hindu minority that is being attacked, that is being persecuted in Bangladesh. But right after his election, he has kept mum. He has not spoken about this persecution, these atrocities on Hindu minorities that continues to take place in Bangladesh. Again, a shift of perspective, or does it not suit him to build a narrative such as this? And of course, then I'm talking about, when you talk about Hindu hate, Hindu phobia, these are one of the many examples of Hindu hate that continues to persist in America and other parts of the world as well.
One thing I would like to have a different view than my friend who just spoke. I think this has nothing to do with Trump administration. In fact, if you look at it, there are more Hindus in Trump administration. The director of FBI, Kash Patel, is a Hindu himself. The director of national intelligence, she herself is a Hindu, and there are other Hindus serving in the administration. We are becoming more prominent because we are a very prosperous community. Number one, when it comes to income. Number two, in prominent positions, whether it is high tech or whether it is medical field or education. So yes, we are becoming target, but we are becoming target by a very small minority. Khalistanis, maybe Muslim extremists, and maybe Christian extremists, most likely Khalistanis. This is isolated thing. Even most of the Sikhs in USA, they are good people. Most of the local Americans, they respect most of the Indian Americans. So I would not like to blow it out of proportion. The local authorities will have to track them down, and the temples, they will have to put some additional security measures, including CC cameras, to try to catch these people. And I can tell you that Indian Americans, we have enough of political clout, both with local administration as well as state and federal administration, to take these people to logical legal ending once these people are caught.
Okay, all right. However, like I said, have there been any instances where these vandals have been caught, they have been interrogated, they have been put behind bars? Because I have not heard. There has been the Indian Consul General, Joyita, that has put out this tweet which has called this incident reprehensible, which has asked the authorities to take action against it. But I see this happening again and again. Every single time such an incident happens, there is a statement that has been given by the representatives of the government of India. But I don't see any sort of counter reactions, any sort of response that comes from the law and order agencies or the mayor of or the governor of that particular state.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. This shows the lack of clout of the Indian American community. It's as simple as that nobody cares. And even if you look at what is going on in terms of, say, for example, in whatever Mr. Trump is doing right now, so do you think that is really, I mean, that is, that's a reflection, if we are talking in terms of, our diaspora is supposed to be our extended arm in kind of, they are supposed to support India in certain ways and all. Do you think the way things are going, it shows that they have any clout in the US, that they are allowing this kind of, this sliding away of the way things are? I mean, the US-India relations are on the rocks, completely on the rocks. And here I have to believe that Indian American community has so much political clout that they can actually, I mean, the very fact that Trump administration has so many Indians, how does it help us? What does it do for us? That is why I am of the firm view, if you are not going to help in India in any way, you are on your own. We are not even going to talk about the attacks that are happening on you or your temples. It's not our business. Simple as that.
It's also interesting, I want to put out that contrast, and Rashmi, if you could, get into the conversation, if there are any such incidents of vandalism that take place against a Jew, against, synagogues, there is a massive hue and cry. It's termed as anti-Semitism, whether these attacks take place in Australia or they are taking place in London or taking place in United States of America. And even the president comes out and makes comments on these. Universities like Columbia and Harvard have been sanctioned. Their funds have been frozen because the president of America says, because of their very anti-American narrative and anti-American stance, these particular incidents gain a lot of traction, not just within their localities, not just within their respective countries, but all across the globe. Unfortunately, something similar does not happen when such vandals take to violence, put out this obnoxious graffiti on our temple walls. Hindu phobia seems to be not on the priority list of the President of America, or for that matter, any of the governments in other parts of the world where such incidents take place.
Absolutely. Megha, I do agree with you that there's a stark contrast when it comes to response to hate crimes against Hindus when contrasted with other faiths, especially the Abrahamic faiths. I've seen during my time in England that an attack against a mosque was taken very seriously by the local administration, all the way up to the police, the mayor, all of them condemned it in the harshest of words. But when it came to vandalism of Hindu temples, be it in Australia, be it in the United Kingdom, be it in America, shots are being fired, but we rarely see the political dispensation come out and put out a statement. And this is not a recent problem. If you look at the sort of Hindu phobia that the Hindu community has been facing all the way from the dot busters in New Jersey back in the 90s to today, the sort of attack that our temples are facing, the pattern with respect to which the political dispensation has reacted to it has been quite similar. That, unfortunately, I think is because Hindus as a community have always been slow to organize themselves politically. By that I mean utilize their wealth and their niche in terms of educational and professional achievements within the community to affect policies that benefit community. Of course, Hindus have put themselves in positions of power, be it prime minister in Britain or be it, different high places heading different intelligence units in the United States. But they have seldom been unable to utilize that position to benefit their community in any way, because the community fundamentally believes in equality, in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, so that fairness which inherently comes within the Hindu community unfortunately acts against us when there is targeted hate crime, because there's nobody who's going to make our case, and the sort of generosity that we extend in our naivety to other communities often doesn't get extended to us. So I think it's essential for the community to change with the times. It's doing excellently in all fields, and they're one of the most law-abiding citizens, but to utilize their success in order to compel political platforms to take their case and make their case is something that I think we should do.
Right.
And we can take our lessons from the Jews, be it the conservative government or the liberal government. I mean, either of the parties in power in the United States, the Jewish interest is always taken care of. And I think that is something the Hindu community needs to aspire to as an excelling community across the world.
Okay, all right. On that note, I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast and sharing your views.